I'll start with the enrollment sheet. It shows the different clusters and enrollment since 2005-06 through last year, which is the most current data that we have in 2014-15. And as you can see, we're beginning to show a slight increase in the number of students that are enrolled in career and technical education. So that's the good news. At a meeting I was at earlier, I was asked why there was such a huge decrease between 05-06 and 09-10. In 05-06, we started conducting the approved program evaluations, or we started them again. And a number of the school districts were offering CTE courses as an elective and not the required sequence of courses. And so they deleted their program approvals. And that over that 5-year period, you see a continuing decrease. But again, we're starting to show that increase. Secondary is obviously grades 9 through 12. Post-secondary would be the community colleges, Clarion University, some of the private licensed entities that have a Perkins grant. And the adult, there are a number of career and technical centers that offer CTE programs of sufficient size and scope, and that's the numbers associated with the career and technical centers that have adult programs. The next sheet that I want to refer to, it has the keystones, literature, and algebra. And this is actually the data that I provided you last year. We're still working on the keystone data for this year. Once I get that data, I can send it to Patty McCanage, and Patty can send it out to the attendees here. But what I wanted to draw your attention to is under the Career and Technical Center background, the last bullet there notes that students enrolled in career and technical education, 27.8% of those students have IEPs. I looked at that data over the past few years, and that is fairly stable. The lowest that I saw was 27%, the highest is 28.4%. So that may not be true at your specific building, but again, statewide, we're seeing that that's fairly stable. So moving to the next data sheet, it's the NOCTI data sheet. And again, this is the most recent data that we have. You can look at 2014, 2015, the two rows up at the top. You can see that it looks like we're reaching the plateau at the career and technical centers, 89, 90%. We still have some work to do with the high schools that have approved career and technical education programs. This year we did initiate outreach to these entities. We set up 3 regional workshops inviting these schools in so that we could explain NOCTI, explain some of the PIMS issues that they're facing. And due to the travel ban, we were able to hold one of those regional meetings before the travel ban took place. So we'll take a look at those schools that attended that session and see if they had improved scores, and if it is, then we'll continue next year, hopefully, with regional meetings. But again, great things. If you take a look at 2010 and where we are in 2015, a lot has been occurring within the classrooms. So thank you for that hard work. The next sheet, because it really is impressive what has been occurring across the state. I spoke with some of your colleagues about how can PDE recognize you. And so we had a new award this year, the Career and Technical Education Excellence Award. And this was provided to the 17 schools or the buildings that you see there. And it's both the high schools and the career and technical centers. 75% or higher of their students are advanced on the NOCTI. And as you can see, the advanced is reflecting that the student is able to perform with minimal supervision, entry level skills. So if you're one of those schools, congratulations to you. You may want to share your best practices either next year at this conference, at PAC Tech, at the ILC. So the next data sheet, that's titled Past Task List Completion 13-14. We've been asked at different meetings if we know which students or who's completing a program of study. We do know that because in PIMS there is a data element where schools will enter for each of their students if that student has completed the entire program of study. And this is showing you that. And if you look at the bottom, plumbing, bottom of page 1 of 2, you can see this deals with all students in the 12th grade. And in plumbing, there's a row that says no, and there are 74 students that did not complete a program of study. And then below that, it says yes, 62 students completed the entire program of study. So essentially, 45% of the students statewide in the plumbing program are completing the program of study. So when we look at this data at the state level, and this is a new report for us, so we're still trying to determine what we're going to do with this data, what type of professional development we'll provide. There's always that question when we go out and do the approved program evaluations, or when we're talking with a career and technical distinguished school leader, we continue to hear that sometimes the instructors don't know that they have a program of study and that this resource exists for their students, that they can continue on to the post-secondary institutions and gain college credit. So again, we're looking at this data, trying to determine what our next steps are at the state level. Because this is submitted at the local level in PIMS, your PIMS administrator can actually pull this report for you by program area. So the great news is, between 2011 and 15, when we started collecting data on program of study completers, there were 89 students who actually took advantage of the SOAR college credits. There were 609 college credits that these students took advantage of. And when we looked at which institutions they transferred into, and the tuition, it's over $165,000 that those 89 students were able to save in tuition costs because of the program study effort. So it would be nice to see additional students take advantage of that. We do realize at the state level that your local articulation agreements are better than what the program study articulation agreement is. We also know that some of the post-secondary institutions actually award multiple college credit to the secondary students. So, for example, Penn College has Penn College Now. Students can earn those college credits as well as the SOAR college credit. So many opportunities for the students. Overall, when we looked at the data that we submit to USDE, of course, we always want to make sure that we are meeting our negotiated levels on each of the performance indicators, much like your Perkins coordinator. If you're that person, you're very aware of those performance levels. We're still struggling with non-traditional participation completion. We actually saw a slight decrease in those. We're at a low level already in regards to negotiation with USDE. Non-traditional completion, if we see a decrease in that, again, I believe we'll be out of compliance and not having met that. So, working with Monique Williams, Monique is here. Monique, raise your hand. Monique replaced Frank DiNatale. She is now the division manager and responsible for Perkins. So if you have any questions on that, ask questions. And we will be, again, Monique and I will be working on strategies focused around the non-traditional indicators. The next sheet that you have is the industry certifications. And on that, you can see that, and I'm looking at the last column of the table, or the last column, last row. 38% of high school seniors earned an industry credential. That's up slightly from last year. Last year it was 36%. In the first column, where it says total, the total industry certifications this year is slightly over 27,000. That's up from a little over 23,000. And total number of students earned this year is almost 15,000. Last year, it was a little over 13,000. So we continue to see increases in industry certifications, and you'll see that in the future is going to become important to both you and to high schools without career and technical education programs. Last year, we reported that 89% of the programs CTE programs are aligned to industry certifications. This year, the report is showing that 93% of the programs are aligned. The last sheet then is the CTE student definitions. Again, we at the state level have different definitions and they're used for different purposes. So I'll review these. Well, first, let me see, do you have any questions on the data plans? Yes?
To the list of who got the 75% advanced, what's the correlate? Is there a correlation between how high their special ed numbers are?
No, we did not look at that. We did not look at any of the special populations categories, so economically disadvantaged or IEP, students with IEPs, ELL.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so student definitions. A CTE student is that student that is enrolled in the program as approved by PDE. In other words, is that student taking the courses that you have in your scope and sequence? And has that student completed that annual education occupational objective form, PDE 408, or something similar? So that's who the CTE student is. That's the enrollment. CTE concentrator, this is used for federal reporting purposes. This is the individual who has completed 50% or more of the career successfully completed 50% or more of the technical instructional hours. So that could be somebody in the 11th grade, and it could be somebody in the 12th grade. Now when we get into testing, the student who has to test is the student who is going to graduate, so that would be your 12th grader, and is a CTE concentrator. And as we have there, concentrator is hours-based. CTE completer is used for state reporting. You're not held accountable to this, but the state is. When I report to the legislators every year, when they ask how is that $62 million line item being utilized, what students are you serving, and we, the legislators who provide that money, want to see an increase in the number of CTE completers. So again, the state is the one that's held accountable for this definition. And as you can see, it's the student who has completed all of the secondary level competencies. So this is competency-based, whereas the concentrator is hours-based. Unless, okay, so they complete all of the competencies, unless that student has an IEP, then it's the student who has completed his or her objectives as found in the IEP. In addition, that individual has completed the NOCTI or the NIMS assessment and has attained his or her diploma. And then the next definition that you hear us use sometimes is the SOAR eligible student, or the student who has completed the program of study. And this is laid out in the articulation agreement. So the student that decides to leave your program, go to post-secondary, and is looking to gain those college credits for the secondary technical coursework, that student has to have earned his or her high school diploma, achieved that minimum 2.5 GPA on the technical coursework, was proficient on all of the tasks on the program of study task grid, and was competent or advanced on the end of program assessment. So are there any questions on the different definitions? Okay, if not, well, if you do and you want to ask later, that's fine. I'm here all day, and Dee's here all day as well. So I'll give you a few updates. Some of you may have heard about Senate Bill 880. Senate Bill 880 was passed and signed by the governor. And what this bill did was put the Keystone exam on hold as a graduation requirement. Schools still have to administer the Keystone exam. Students still have to be provided the remedial education if they're not proficient or advanced on the Keystone exam. What this has done is said that you do not have to use this as a graduation requirement. So if the student is basic on one of the algebra exams, they can still graduate. And that's a 2-year hold. In the meantime, PDE is charged with researching alternative pathways. What other ways can students graduate if they aren't proficient or advanced on the Keystone exam? As you know, we have the project-based assessments. So as we're doing this research, does it make sense to develop a project-based assessment that is CTE focused? In other words, it's performance-based and not, I don't know if you ever looked at the project-based assessments, but they seem to be rather complex word problems. So would that be an alternative? Another thought might be if the student is advanced on the NOCD or NIMS, and they take an algebra class, and they pass that algebra class, but they don't pass the Keystone exam, would that demonstrate that the student is still academically prepared as well as career ready? So could that be an alternative pathway? So again, PDE is researching that. Right now, they're taking a look at what other states are doing, and then they'll reach out to the community, bring them in, and get some recommendations and input from the community. So pay attention to that. The Every Student Succeeds Act, your presenter talked yesterday about how important it is to bring in all the stakeholders, gain that input. PDE is actually in the process of doing that, forming these different groups. We have what we're calling the general stakeholders who will be involved from the beginning through to the end. They're not going to do the nitty-gritty work, but we'll go to the general stakeholders, ask them for individuals who can serve on the work groups. And there are 4 work groups: accountability, assessment, educator evaluation, and educator certification. So again, we're in the process of getting nominations from the general stakeholders on who should serve on the 4 work groups. States must implement ESSA beginning with the 17-18 school year. Within ESSA, you'll see that there are references to career and technical education. Career and technical education is now part of the definition of well-rounded education. In the past, it's always well-rounded education was the core academics, but now CTE is part of that. ESSA state plans must be developed in coordination with the Perkins state plan. Obviously, our Perkins state plan has been implemented in place since 2006-07. So we'll have to look at how we're going to coordinate our Perkins plan and ESSA state plans. But also, applications must be submitted in coordination with the local Perkins plan as appropriate. So we have to define as appropriate. What does that really mean? So you may have to do something there if you're the Perkins coordinator. The ESSA report card could include the Perkins indicators as part of that school performance profile. Could is the operative word there. So we'll see if that's how the state and the work groups end up. Also of interest, the Title I funds could be used to support CTE and academic, connecting those, integrating those, but if that Title I funds are used to support that, it must also include work-based learning. So again, that would be determined at the local level. Okay, so moving on to the school performance profile. The current performance profiles, the academic score is actually based a lot on academic courses and on the academic assessments. What PDE has been doing, we're looking at proposed indicators. Of course, the proposed indicators would mean that Act 82 or the educator effectiveness legislation would have to change. But we're moving forward as if that change will occur. And we're looking at college career ready indicators, and there would be at least 3 new indicators. One of those is to take a look at the industry certifications. Right now, the SPP utilizes the NOCTI exam, but it does not look at industry certifications. So again, we're looking at adding a new indicator or actually combining it with the current NOCTI indicator. And of interest is what is called the high value, or those certifications that lead to have labor market value. In other words, they really lead to employment opportunities or enhance the student's opportunity for gaining employment. And what we've done, the initial review of PDE is to take a look at each of the industry certifications. We have the industry certification guide online. And working with L&I, we've taken their high priority occupations, which are SOC codes, and we look to make sure that if the occupational title and the duties associated with that title align to one of the industry certification and the skills that are being assessed, then we consider that to be high value, having labor market value. And approximately half of the certifications in the industry certification guide are high value. We can show a direct alignment to a SOC code. Later this week, I am working with an advisory group to take a look at the method that we use to determine that alignment, see if there's a better way of doing that. So stay tuned. So as we determine what a high-value industry certification is. As I said, this SPP indicator will apply to school districts even if they don't have approved career and technical education programs. Working with the specialist at PDE, we were able to align industry certifications to business courses, to agriculture education courses, technology education, family consumer science. Of course, a student would have to take more than one of those courses in order to be eligible to sit for these exams, but we were able to make an alignment. The other indicator that we're looking at is aligned to the career education and work standards, and we're looking at grades 5, 8, and 11. In grade 5, we would look we would ask schools that how many of their students or which of their students were engaged in career exploration and preparation programs. Grade 8, which students have started or initiated their career plan and are participating in career preparation activities. Grade 11 then are which students are implementing that plan and again continuing with their career preparation activities. This would be worth 5 points within the SPP. And the same for the NOCTI NIMS, that stays at 5 points, and the industry certification is 5 points. One of the things that we're doing though, because the career education work is a yes/no, did this student participate? Yes, no. Did this student begin to implement their career plan? Yes, no. We're going to define what are appropriate career preparation activities, what does a career plan look like. So again, we're working with individuals in the field to help identify what that looks like. The third SPP proposed indicator is actually, that was there, but it's being changed a little bit, is the advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and then we're going to add college level coursework. And we're going to add college level coursework, CTE coursework. There is a national database on courses. It's a national classification system. For example, 13102 is electromechanical systems, 17004 is framing carpentry. So there may be a need for school districts, career technical centers, for your instructors to develop, take that task grid, whatever task you have, in addition to those, and actually develop courses based on this national database. And I know some schools already have that in place, but if that is accepted, then that's the way we'll be moving, a direction we'll move in. Technical assistance program, we're in the process of reforming that for next year, moving into year 9. So if you have any input on any of the services that we're providing, let me know, let Monique know. One of the things I have heard is that the SREB, project-based learning, that's kind of old now. Almost every teacher's been through that, and there's a desire for something else. So we are piloting this year, this spring, working with a maximum of 10 schools on a career counseling initiative that's a little different than what Mike Thompson has been doing. It takes the plan to the next level. So we'll see how that works. So again, if you have any thoughts on that, let me know, let Monique know. We continue to work with NC3T because career pathways, both nationally and at the state level, continues to be very important, and that pathway is K-12, not necessarily inclusive of CTE, but can include CTE. We have regional workshops that are coming up March 10th, the 16th, and April 26th. Announcement was sent out via Penlink. So if you're interested, ask to see a copy of that Penlink. And they're also conducting a study tour April the 21st at Souderton Area High School. Souderton requires every student, grades 8 through 12, to participate in career exploration, job shadowing, and 20-hour mentorship. So, and they have a pretty extensive process for capturing all of the information associated with that and the coursework that the students need to take. So if you're interested in that, again, that's part of that Penlink.